Welcome to my slightly dim garage. Hopefully you can make that out well enough. This is our gas boiler. It has been in this house since the house was built. Although we only moved here last year, we inherited this 26-year-old non-condensing boiler, and let me tell you a few things about it. It's an ideal classic. This is future me here. I thought I'd completely lost all of this footage. It seemed to have been on a corrupted SD card in my GoPro, but somehow I've now managed to retrieve it, and I thought it would be useful. Some of the things looking back are a bit cringeworthy, but hindsight is always 2020. In this video I'll show you some of the DIY bits I did in preparation for our heat pump and run through our existing setup. And like I say, this was meant to go out a couple of months ago, but I thought I'd lost the footage. So yeah, laugh along at some of the things that turn out to be true and some of them that turn out to be false. So go ahead and fact check me in the comments if you like. Enjoy. When we moved in, this little temperature dial was on number 5, which I think in the manual was like 76 degrees or thereabouts. I straight away put it down to number 1 to see if we could survive, if it would adequately heat up the radiators and keep us warm, which it did, but we found that going down to number 1 on the dial really sacrificed the hot water performance. So we've gone back to number 2 and we just about seemed to get by on number 2. And we did have those settings through quite a prolonged cold period, so it seems to have done okay. Let me go and show you some other bits around the house. A quick little note from the editor from the future before we jump into the video footage from the past. This is our emitter log, so on the left hand side you can see the rooms that are going to be heated. It shows the heat loss per room, so the required watts that will be needed, and then shows the selected emitter, radiator in other words, and then the conversion factor and the amount of output those radiators give at the lower flow temperature. For us that's design at 45 degrees flow temperature. So why I'm showing you this is the reason that I insulated the loft up to 350 mil is to make sure that I didn't need K2 radiators upstairs in a couple of the rooms. If I hadn't insulated the loft, would have needed K2 radiators, but those K2 radiators upstairs would have been so overpowered compared to the downstairs that I would have then had to use TRVs to dial back the temperature of the rooms upstairs. So it was quite a balancing act of trying to balance the whole house through the heat loss calculation, through the emitter sizes, so that we don't need any TRV intervention. Luckily it has worked out, and we have all the TRVs set on max and all of the rooms are nice and even, and the emitter sizing has worked out very well for us. I think it also helps that we leave the doors open, and so it all becomes kind of one heating zone and it kind of equalizes out. Anyway, stop the rambling, back to the old footage from the past. Okay, airing cupboard. Again, you may not be able to see as much as I'd like you to. We have let's see if we can get a little light on here, see if this will help us out. We've got a 140 litre cylinder that you can see there, the hot water tank. Again, this is the original one for the house, so it's 26 years old. It just about does the job. We're a family of 5, so sometimes hot water can be running a bit short. More recently, not in our time, but it has had replacement 3-port valve, a replacement pump for the central heating system, and then more recently we put a smart thermostat on there. We just went with a Hive because it's a non-condensing boiler, there's no modulation, it was super cheap, and we got rid of a very familiar timer programmer like one of those. So that is basically what we're working with. Let me show you a couple of the things that we've done in preparation for upgrading. We knew that we were going to have to go for a low flow temperature to be efficient. You can see how messy my boys are. So these radiators that are in here originally were just a single panel with no convectors, no fins to the layman. Now, I don't know if you can see that. It's terrible lighting again. We've upgraded all of these to double panels with convector fins. Is that better? So you can just see there's some fins in there. These are termed type 21 radiators, and we went from type 10 radiators. We've kept the same height and the same width, and fortunately for me, there was enough give in the pipes that I managed to retain the existing pipework. So this was a quick and easy job of isolating out the valves, lifting the old radiator off, removing it, and putting some new brackets on. Unfortunately, radiators don't have standard brackets, so although the radiator itself was the same size, the brackets were a different size. And then pop this radiator on, which has triple the heat output of the original one, and it's still relatively low profile. It's not a massive double convector or triple convector. Okay, let me show you. Oh well, it's just rinse and repeat really. Same thing again. This is 500 millimeters wide, 600 millimeters tall. It's again, this one is an 800 wide by 600 tall, and it's exactly the same deal there. Just double panel, single convector. Now we've done something a little bit different. I'm a bit all over the show. Here's one that we need to work on getting upgraded. This one, in the bathroom at least, it had a type 11 radiator, which is a single panel, single convector. This one's 600 high by 500 wide. It's not sufficient in here for low temperature heating. Right, on to the next. Now, what we did in here, where we need a little bit more heating, was in here we've gone for 700 mil tall, which does get us quite close up to the window frame, but it's the same double panel, single convector, and it just helps with the extra output that's needed for the larger room. Okay. Towel radiator, they are not good for low temperature heating. Although there's quite decent water capacity in there, because the water runs through all of the horizontal as well as the vertical tubes. There's no fins, and so it's relatively low surface area. Considering how much wall space it takes up, it doesn't actually produce a lot of heat. So I'm just gonna take you downstairs. Okay, I lied. I thought before I go downstairs, I'll quickly show you up in the loft. So we've got a water tank. I have no idea how many litres this is, but this is gravity fed cold water tank. That's terrible light. Now I look at the GoPro screen. You won't be able to see a huge amount, but it's a standard tank in the loft. Next to it on the left there is a header tank for the central heating, to top up the radiators if there's a leak or it's losing pressure. So both of these are going. We are switching over from an open vented system to a sealed pressurized system. That's great, gives us more loft space. Currently they take up approximately probably 8 by 8 foot area, so hey, that's plenty of loft space. That's a whole box room's worth of space that's going. Alongside that, our pumped shower, we will be able to lose this pump, and a lot of people just have the digital controller converted. This one is just a valve that switches between the shower heads. This is the one that actually blends the hot and cold water, gets you the right temperature, and this is the actual motor that pumps the water from the tank and from the hot water cylinder into the shower to get you your nice pressure. But we're going to do away with that. I managed to get a good deal, so I've got a brand new valve that is designed for high pressure that we'll just have to swap this out, and that will probably make its way back onto eBay or something, because it's not very old, and we have popped the covers off it and it looks like brand new in there. So now I'm going to take you downstairs. So now I'm in the downstairs hallway. This was where I started. This was a bit of an experiment. Although in our previous house I changed all the radiators myself, it's a really simple task. Any competent DIY should not be afraid of swapping over radiators. This is where I started to experiment a little bit with low temperature heating. In the old house I had upsized all the radiators. Mostly I went from type 21 to type 22, so went from 2 panels and 1 convector to 2 panels and 2 convectors. Now this radiator, the original one, was a 600mm wide by 600mm tall radiator. It was a type 11, which is a single panel and a single convector. I've upgraded this, so it's a 700mm tall, so you get an extra 100mm in new money, 4 inches in old money on the top of it in height. But importantly, it's got that second panel, so it's got a lot more water capacity, which also gives you extra thermal mass, not just for the water but also the metal as well. So you've got 2 panels, single convector in there, and because it's an extra 100mm tool, you know, it's not quite double the output of the original, but it's getting closer to it. And maybe the fact that it's a brand new radiator, no sludge and no corrosion or anything else, you know, maybe it's double the output. It was a little bit of a test. I installed it and then we experimented, and I was installing these in the depths of winter, so it was a huge, a massive improvement in the feel. And because it's in the hallway and it could then spread, it was a kind of noticeable benefit throughout the house. It was almost as if it was lifting the rest of the rooms. I guess being by the front door, where the cold air would come in, this was really managing to combat that a lot. The editor's back to show you some before and afters. This is the downstairs hallway with the smaller radiator. This is one of the boys' bedrooms upstairs, showing you the just the increase in width. This is the master bedroom with the difference in height and the depth as well. Good opportunity to get the kids involved, get them putting some new fixings in for the new brackets, and of course important to teach them to tidy up after they've been drilling through the walls. Dressing the rads, a bit of PTFE tape on those tails there, having some fun with that, getting those wound right in and prepared, and then lifting it on the hooks and then tightening up the compression fittings there to just make sure we've got no leaks. That was a good bit of fun getting them involved, and they were very pleased that they fitted their own radiator. Here's a few snaps of the radiator graveyard, the alleyway down the side of the house after we were done with these old mostly type 10 rads. So the other radiator that I did a big upgrade on downstairs, this one is 1.2 meters long, so 1200mm wide, and the original one was 600 tall. Again, it was just this one's better to look at because it doesn't have the vanity panels on it. It was originally just a single panel and a single convector, so again we've added a double panel, and this one is 750 tall, so we've added 150mm in height and we've added the second panel, and it's 1200mm wide. It's the only radiator that we've got here in the living room, and this made a phenomenal difference. It's not a huge living room, but well insulated, and that size radiator seems to do a magic job. So one of the radiators that is massively overspec'd anyway is this little guy. I think is 400 wide by 450 tall, and it's got a convector on the back, and it's just in a tiny downstairs toilet. We're not going to upgrade it, we're not going to touch it. I did actually purchase a double panel single convector for it before I did the calculations, realised it was probably a waste of time. So that one's staying as it is. In our study here, we've got hidden behind this desk. This is a 1000 wide by 600 mil tool at the moment. This one is the original one, single panel, single convector, but that one is getting an upgrade. I've just been a little bit lazy. Let me show you what I've got here. Let's get this light on. Here we go. Another new one. As you can see, it's a Type 21 double panel, single convector, 750 tool, 1000 wide. So once again, we are pretty much doubling our output. We're given an extra panel and we're given an extra 150 mil height, but importantly that's shared over the two panels. That's 300 mil extra in height. So let me show you what else we so far all of the work I've done myself. There's been a couple of valves that were needed. I've got TRVs for all of the upstairs radiators when we drain the whole system down, but as of yet haven't done anything. So in a previous video, as you can see, I haven't quite finished this. This is why I haven't given you a finalised video of how it's panned out. I've still got plenty of bits and pieces to do and trimming around the edge, but it's getting there, and it has been brilliant in the summer, although it still lets plenty of sunlight in through the glazing. It's keeping us a lot warmer in the cool months, and so far a lot cooler in these warm months. So originally, before this was knocked through, you can see that big opening there. That was a wall, and there was just a window on that top half. That lower half was where the original radiator for the kitchen was. So they have cut the plumbing pipes back into this wall here, and they installed electric underfloor heating throughout this floor, which is not great. Before we put this roof on, it struggled to really do much at all, even left on 24/7, and it drank the electricity. You would not believe it. So what we're going with here is, because we know the pipe end's the other side of that wall, we're going for a tall upright radiator, about 2 meters tall, big boy, that's going to fill that wall. But because of the calculations and because we want to run a really low flow temperature, we are also putting a 2 meter tall radiator on that wall as well. So both of these exposed walls, we're going for huge double panel, double convector, 2 meter tall radiators, and that will be part of the job. That at the moment I need to get out there and do the rest of the prep work, because starting next week, in that corner over there, we are going to be having the heat pump installed. And in the videos after this is just really the preparation. I've been doing the legwork that I can do. I'm going to go into detail of why we chose a heat pump, what the financial implications were for that. We had to apply for planning permission. I want to walk you through how I did that by myself. I did the complete planning application from start to finish. We got it granted first time round. No big issues at all. A few discussions with the planning officer and the environmental guy who was checking the noise levels for our neighbours, but I'll go into more detail in a specific video about that. I just want to get this video out to help a lot of people. There's a lot of press about heat pumps. My wife knows that I research things to death and I want to be completely informed. So I don't know why I'm just got this camera staring at this corner where there's going to magically be a heat pump. I need to get out there, clear that area up, and I need to think about how I'm going to present these videos that can help you in the most informed way, so you can make a good choice for you and your property. Of course, besides the financial implications, there's also a huge carbon saving by going over to a heat pump. Some people will dispute the financial benefits of running a heat pump. If you're comparing a heat pump to a 95% efficient boiler, expensive Wiesmann boiler that's running really well and it's got big radiators so it can run a low flow temperature, or even better underfloor heating, then yes, maybe there won't be big financial benefit. But if you're like us, starting from a 70% efficient boiler anyway, and you want the tank gone out of the loft, you don't want to worry about leaking valves and flooding the ceiling, and your hot water cylinder is just outdated and not efficient, doesn't have great insulation, loses heat, it doesn't have enough capacity for a family of 5. Once you start factoring in all those costs, then a heat pump starts to become to look like not an absolute no-brainer, but it begins to become competitively priced when you factor in all of those issues. So I hope this video is helpful, and I'll be starting to snap some bits next week as we go through installation.